Okay, let's dive into this. Because today we are looking at something that affects absolutely every single one of us, literally every single day. We're talking about that voice inside your head. You know the one, your internal script. We all have one, constantly running in the background, narrating our lives, interpreting events, and usually telling us exactly how we're doing. But there's this massive tension at the core of how this voice actually operates. Like, is this internal monologue our biggest enemy? Is it holding us back and dragging us down? Or is it actually a deeply misunderstood survival mechanism that we tamper with at our own peril? Today we're taking a deep, balanced look at the fascinating psychology of how we talk to ourselves. We're going to unpack the mechanics of this internal conversation, explore the powerful concept of changing that narrative entirely, and ask the hard questions about whether we really should.
Is your inner monologue constantly negative? Let's just be honest for a second here. For so many of us, the default setting of that voice in our head leans heavily toward criticism. It points out our flaws, it highlights our mistakes, and it generally operates from a baseline state of constant negativity. It's that voice that says you can't do this before you even try, or replays an embarrassing moment on an endless loop. But before we just write this off as some heavy psychological burden or a personal character flaw, we really have to look at why it's there in the first place. Evolutionary psychology suggests that this negativity bias actually kept our ancestors alive. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, if you failed to appreciate a beautiful sunset, you were perfectly fine. But if you missed the signs of a predator in the brush, or if you made a social misstep that got you ostracized from your tribe, you were in mortal danger. So, your brain evolved to fixate on the negative, to constantly scan for threats, and to highlight your own shortcomings as a primal defense mechanism. That harsh inner critic is, in a very real way, just trying to keep you safe and accountable. It's a survival tool, built for a dangerous world.
But this brings us to a fascinating and frankly pretty cool revelation about how our minds actually function today. As it turns out, we can actually rewire that inner monologue. We are not permanently stuck in the Stone Age, and our brain's circuitry isn't set in stone either. Thanks to neuroplasticity, the neural pathways in your mind that default to negative self-talk can literally be changed and redirected over time. It's kind of like paths through a forest, right? The negative route is incredibly well-worn and super easy to walk down, just because you've used it so much. But you possess the biological ability to step into the control room of your mind and start hacking a brand new, encouraging trail. It's an incredible capability. However, this introduces a major psychological debate. Just because we have the power to rewire this internal alarm system, does that mean we always should? If we completely silence that inner critic, do we accidentally strip away our sense of accountability? Does muting the voice that points out our mistakes leave us vulnerable to repeating them over and over again? It's definitely not as simple as just flipping a switch. And this brilliantly illustrates the tug-of-war we face between constant negativity and a more encouraging inner voice. When we evaluate shifting away from that harsh baseline, we really have to look at both sides of the coin. The benefits of an encouraging voice are super well documented. Living with the constant critic is just exhausting. It elevates stress hormones, damages self-esteem, and can seriously limit your potential. On the flip side, cultivating a supportive, internal cheerleader can boost your resilience, help you bounce back from failure way faster, and just improve your overall well-being. But, and this is a big but, there is a very real danger on the other end of the spectrum, and that is the trap of toxic positivity. If we force our inner script to be relentlessly encouraging all the time, we risk ignoring real, actionable problems. Toxic positivity happens when we gloss over our genuine mistakes, suppress very real, valid negative emotions, and avoid taking necessary accountability by just telling ourselves that everything is wonderful. Like, if you mess up a major presentation because you didn't prepare, brushing that off with unearned internal encouragement isn't helpful. It's basically a form of self-sabotage. We have to carefully weigh the immense benefits of being our own coach against the real danger of becoming totally disconnected from reality.
So the crucial point is how we actually approach this process of rewriting your internal script, which is the process of shifting your inner monologue away from negativity to become your own encouraging voice. Now, I know that sounds very official, but it actually sits right at the center of a major divide in modern psychological practices. On one side, you have cognitive behavioral techniques that strongly advocate for actively rewriting the script. In this approach, you are the author. When a negative thought pops up, you actively identify it, challenge its factual accuracy, and consciously draft new, supportive dialogue to replace it. You're basically fighting back. But on the other side, you have approaches rooted in mindfulness and acceptance and commitment therapy. These schools of thought argue that aggressively trying to rewrite or suppress a negative script can totally backfire, actually giving those negative thoughts way more power and attention. Instead of rewriting the script, they suggest simply accepting it. It's like watching cars pass on a busy highway. You acknowledge the harsh thoughts are there without jumping into the passenger seat and letting them drive your behavior. You don't try to change the inner voice, you simply change your relationship to it, stripping it of its power through observation rather than combat. It's a really profound choice between active restructuring and mindful acceptance.
Which brings us to our final thought. What will your new script say? Think about how all of this applies to the way you experience your own mind every single day. We know that the constant negativity isn't permanent, and we know that we have profound choices in how we handle it, whether we choose to actively rewire those pathways or mindfully observe the thoughts without judgment. Ultimately, the healthiest goal isn't blind, toxic optimism, and it definitely isn't crushing, cynical negativity. It's about finding an internal coach that operates with real balance. So I leave you with this final, vital question to ponder. How can you cultivate an inner voice that is encouraging and deeply supportive, but still firmly grounded in reality and honest accountability? How will you integrate your mind's protective, survival instincts with a much healthier, more compassionate narrative? The way you talk to yourself literally shapes the reality you live in. Take a moment today to really listen to what you're saying.